いですが。え、玲子ですか？
もしもし。
ネオジオ CD 新登場。
Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoteric and our continuing series Neo Nostalgia, where I take a look at some of my favorite Neo Geo games of all time. And a few months ago I put up a community poll asking if I was going to feature one Neo Geo CD exclusive, what would you want it to be? And by far and away, Samurai Shodown RPG won that poll, but I got a lot of comments because Cross Swords 2 was an option and everyone was disappointed because they wanted to hear more about this game. So I said, hey, screw it, let's make two. Before we get too far involved, then do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like, subscribe, that notification bell. HyperRat's a member, you should be too. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down below as well, but HyperRat's not a member of that. But Cross Swords 2 is an absolutely amazing game, and it is technically a Neo Geo CD exclusive, and I'll get into more of that in a moment. But it was made and developed by ADK, who had a large hand in developing the Neo Geo hardware, as well as the successor system, the Hyper Neo Geo 64. And this game is leaps and bounds better than the original Cross Swords. But this game never came out on Neo Geo AES or MVS, but it was ported by a homebrew developer, NeoBits, and you can play it on those platforms. But it is still technically an exclusive, and people wanted to hear me talk about it, so let's get into it. If you can't tell already, it is a pseudo first-person hack-and-slash beat-em-up. This is basically a genre in and of itself, and you also have the Super Spy as well, which, while having a completely different theme, is an extremely similar game. But I do really love Cross Swords 2 for what it does, and also for the fact that it feels more like a console game than it does an arcade game. And don't get me wrong, if you've been watching my channel, you know I absolutely love arcade games. Half of my channel is about them, but honestly having a Neo Geo game that feels more like a console release than an arcade release is a ton of fun, and I'm sure that's down to the fact that this was a Neo Geo CD exclusive, and that was and remains only a home console. You do get a little bit of story, but of course it's not that important. But I do love how this game looks. The color palettes, the Neo Geo look to it, everything is impeccably done. And honestly, a lot of the character design is so much fun as well. These river jellies here, even if that is kind of misspelled, they just look so much fun. And these frog soldiers in their full armor, amazing as well. Now mechanically they gave you a dash and a jump in this versus the original game, and you have so many more combinations of movement, so many different inputs to get different things out of your character. There are 3 characters in the game, and I will be mixing and matching them to talk about what they do. But you will see down there at the bottom left hand corner of the screen, about 1/3 of the way in, there is a magic meter as well, and magic is going to play a huge component in this game, because right there you use it and you can start knocking down life bars of enemies that otherwise take a lot of slashes to defeat. Magic management and how much you have is crucial in this game, and we also have a new component as well, and that is the entire upgrade scheme, because you'll see here after certain levels this rather busty woman comes out and offers you some different options for gold points. I just leveled up from 1 to 2. I didn't take a weapon, I'm going to do that shortly, but there is strategy as to how you want to deal with your character build. But again, this game feels like a beat 'em up combined with a fighting game, because blocking, timing, and input and movement are going to be crucial. If you don't learn those, you're not going to have a good time with this game, and if you do learn them, you're going to have an extremely good time with this game. It's the type of game that requires practice, and you're gonna want to do it because this game is just that much fun, and I love that it's so unique as far as the Neo Geo's library is concerned. And like I always say, because this technically qualifies as a beat 'em up, you can't have a beat 'em up game if you don't have an elevator level, and Cross Swords 2 is bringing you that elevator, kind of has some Splatterhouse vibes to it. But the soundtrack is spectacular as well. I'll give you 2 different listens, this part and then one later in the video, but go ahead and enjoy it for like 35-45 seconds, and I'll come back and talk more about Cross Swords 2. Enjoy! The soundtrack is a perfect fit for this game, and it has that sword and sandal Conan the Barbarian epic feel to it, and in some ways it reminds me of the Roston soundtrack, and that is one of my favorite arcade games of all time. But this game gets hard, and it gets hard quick. All of a sudden enemies are going to start stacking up on you, and they do the classic kung fu movie fighting scheme where only one usually jumps out at a time and his friends wait. But you'll see there, as that blue mage holds his staff up, you need to attack lower or use magic because he is giving you an opening to attack him with. You need to be paying attention to every enemy's patterns because they have different ones, like these devil's eyes here. They don't technically attack, they just blow that poison cloud out, and as long as you can defeat them before they do that, they can't really do much to you, but you need to understand the timing, because if you get it wrong, you get staggered like I was there. If you get it right and dash back and forth, you were basically untouchable. So learning all of those enemy patterns is going to be crucial for what's going on, and I should have pushed up to get my shield up to block those projectiles coming down as well. The game will definitely stun lock you. This Scarlet Mage here, if you get in that electrical attack, he's going to screw you over, but you see there when I raised the shield up, everything worked much better. Timing is important, but if you're hit and staggered, you don't really have an option to put any inputs in. So this, like I said, like playing against a good fighting game player or a cheap AI in the instance of SNK, crucially important to learn your timing. But now, let's go ahead and level up our weapon. At this point in the game, the initial weapon starts feeling a little bit weak, and we need to get something a little nicer. And like I said, this game does give you story. It's not the greatest in the world, and it probably doesn't even really need to be here, but she was going to give us something to show appreciation. I'll let you guess what that may have been. And this kaiju looking Godzilla reject turtle pops in and gets her right from the back. But wow, does he have a really derpy looking face? I'm sure it was intentional, but it does feel like something that came out of a B-tier Godzilla movie, a franchise that is already B-tier, but I do love. But again, timing, super important, because he's going to turn his back, the Mad Turtle here, and show you that shell, and you need to basically time it up perfectly. When he opens up, you're going to have a very small, like 6-frame window to put an attack in, and if you miss it, it's going to work terribly. If you hit it, like right here, we get it on the perfect timing, you get a lot of his life bar off and you kill him completely. And that's what's going to be so crucial in this game. Like I said earlier, learning the timing is amazingly important. If you don't have it, you're going to get absolutely wailed on. But the one interesting thing is this game doesn't really seem to have any credits. You just keep hitting start to continue, pick whichever character you want, so you can just keep mashing start when you die to see the end of the game, which makes sense because if they just limited this to 4 credits like some Neo Geo home console ports, you may end up in a situation where it becomes incredibly difficult to actually see the ending of the game. But again, we even have these acid butterflies here, papillon being the French word for them, and I do kind of like that they mix that up as well. But again, I told you I'd give you one more little peek at the soundtrack because it is so good. So go ahead and listen for like 30 more seconds. I'll come back and talk about one of the major boss battles and close out the video on Crosswords 2. Enjoy. Again, just an awesome soundtrack, and 80K always made great soundtracks. My favorite game from them of all time, Beastbuster Second Nightmare on the Hyper Neo Geo 64, has one of my favorite soundtracks of an arcade game of all time. But you'll see here with the Gold Knight, as long as you maintain that magic and you learn the inputs, you were able to hammer away on them and basically not take too much damage. And you'll see here in this next boss fight coming up what learning the combat looks like. A skeleton worm here, as long as you're moving back and forth and putting the right inputs in, we've already taken 1/4 of his life bar down. If we move left and right, wiggle that arcade stick back and forth and utilize some of those attacks, he hasn't touched us at all whatsoever. Use that shield, pop it up, get some magic, and he is dead just like that. That's what it looks like when you learn this game. But yeah, that's Crosswords 2. It's the other game that you wanted to see a Neo Geo CD exclusive of, and I like to make what you guys ask for around here. But if you've never played this game, I highly recommend it. I have original hardware, but you can emulate it as well. Short of that, I'll be back next week with more Neo nostalgia, and I'll have videos throughout the week as well. But yeah, Crosswords 2, epic game. If you never played it, do it. See you next time. Bye-bye.